In the Victorian era, Britain changed as never before. It was the time of great inventors, great engineers, but above all, great businessmen, entrepreneurs. And one of the best examples was the pioneer photographer, Francis Frith. It was in the 1860s that Francis Frith embarked upon a monumental mission using the newly invented photographic camera. He wanted to document every city, every town, and every village in the land. I'm tracing the footsteps of this remarkable man and his team of photographers. Using their pictures as my guide, I'll be traveling the length and breadth of the country, finding out what has altered and what has stayed the same. And along the way, I'll be taking my own photos to try and capture the mood of the place as it is now.
That's great.
Welcome to Britain's first photo album. Before the middle of the 19th century, it was up to artists to paint a scene. So you can imagine the excitement when the first photographs appeared. Pictures of places you'd never been to, of people you didn't know. Francis Frith was quick to see the commercial opportunity. Before long, he was selling popular photographs in their tens of thousands. Nowadays, Frith's photographs are a treasure trove of historical surprises and long-forgotten stories. I can't wait to find out more. My trip around Britain is going to take me as far south as the Isle of Wight. I'll be travelling to the West Country and into Wales before heading north to Scotland, then back down through England to the Midlands. But my adventures begin in London, where today I'll be meeting a group of real-life heroes. Did you say knickers?
What's up?
You did. Taking a starring role in one of the first West End theatres. What means this strange sensation? And delving deep under one of London's most famous landmarks. When you're up above, you don't see any of this, do you?
No.
I mean, it's
The public's seen none of this.
It's amazing, isn't it? My first location is rightly regarded as a national treasure. The place we're going to is one of the very few institutions in the country which, in my experience, is never criticised. Our first Frith photograph was taken in 1898 and is of the Royal Hospital, Chelsea, complete with a group of proud Chelsea pensioners. This hero's home was founded by King Charles II in 1682 for soldiers who were unfit for further duty because of injury or old age. Designed by Sir Christopher Wren, the Royal Hospital still serves its original purpose. It's a symbol of our commitment to the brave people who fought for their country. Paddy Fox is one of the 300 or so Chelsea pensioners who live here now, and he's in no doubt about their place in Britain's heart. Now, I'm right in saying, aren't I, that nobody criticises this place, do they?
No, it's loved throughout the world. I've travelled and they've heard about it in Canada and places, and they all love it. The gratitude that people show, people shake hands with me, think I was in the First World War, but quite that old.
You're not quite that old, but it's the lovely uniform,
It's
too.
the uniform attracts attention.
And it all goes back, I suppose, what, to the age of it and why this was founded as the Royal Hospital.
Well, it was founded, as it says up there, for the succour and relief of veterans broken by age and war, and we've been living here for 316 years.
Not personally.
Indeed, yes.
The Frith picture was taken here in the square, but there seems to be something odd in the background. Why is this? It's like a tree there. What is it?
Charles II, our founder, hid in an oak tree to get away from Cromwell. So we wear oak leaves. The statue is covered in oak leaves.
This is what we're seeing
Statue
here.
of Charles II. We
Covered
call
in
it
oak.
Founder Day. Some people call it Oak Apple Day, but it's...
And do you still cover up the statue on
Yes,
Founders
indeed.
Day?
Yeah. Not quite as much as that, but there's oak leaves all around it.
So that's all. It all looks very familiar.
We
doesn't
all
it?
wear the tricorn hats. We all wear the oak leaves.
All the traditions of the Chelsea pensioners are still keenly celebrated every year, as they have been since the founding of the hospital. But recently, there has been one very significant change.
Well, in my 10 years, the biggest change has been the arrival of the women. They served in the army, they did their bit, they got their medals, and now that we've got some ensuite rooms, they're entitled to come in.
But were there some people who thought, oh, we're not having women?
Some people said, what do these women want to come in amongst 300 old men? But no, they served in the army. They're here, and that is it.
The decision was made in 2009 for women to be eligible. It made sense given the increasing role of women in the armed forces since the Second World War. Dorothy Hughes was the first to come here, and she is now one of 4 female Chelsea pensioners. Do you think it was long overdue to make sure that women could come here?
Oh, definitely. I felt like a pioneer. I wanted to open the doors for younger women to come in, and I think they will come in hordes in about 10 years' time.
What's the general atmosphere like here?
It's like a very large family. Obviously, there are quarrels that go on, as there do in any family. But I know some people say, oh, it's a place you come to die. Well, we're all going to die sometime. But here, you don't feel alone. You're amongst people who are in the same position as you. And we don't think of death. We live from day to day. You know, you wake up in the morning and you say, good, I've got another day. And you get on with it. I'd been living on my own for 18 years, and I never liked knitting or playing whist or bridge. I wanted an adventure.
And this is an adventure.
My gosh, I got it.
What a marvellous spirit. Dorothy is a true inspiration. For my first photo that's going to go into the album, I'm going to try and capture that spirit of the Chelsea pensioners, just as Frith did over 100 years ago. This is what we've got to look at for. All right? Anyone who says they're on it is wrong.
I'm already there.
Half of you on this side, half on the other side. Right, I think Dorothy should be in the middle.
Come on, Dorothy. Dorothy. Dorothy and Paddy.
All right. Dorothy and Paddy in the middle. Is that all right?
No, here, Paddy.
All right, well, now, look, you do look smart. Are you ready, troop? Attention. Stand at ease. Perfect. You see, there are no other people in the world that can do it as well as you. Now, who said knickers? That's wrong. I've got a suspect.
Don't wear them.
Did you say knickers?
What's up?
You did. You know that's wrong, don't you?
I know. Lock me up. Lock me up.
Okay. All right, okay. We'll carry on as if it did not happen.
Okay, sir.
All right.
It's not. It's get them off.
Hey! Who said get them off? Dorothy, you said get them off. Now, that really is bad, but we'll let you off too.
Right to get some.
Don't move. This is a big moment. Now then. Okay, all there. Stay where you are. That's great. Yes, big smile now. Happiness. What a fantastic group they make in their smart scarlet uniforms. Comradeship is always a great part of service life, and having a laugh. What I liked about that group is that they were disciplined, of course, but they had that tremendous capacity to, I don't know, fool around. It's very British, and I think we've captured that in our picture, because there we are. We've got the splendid pensioners, the marvellous Dorothy in the middle, and it compares very favourably with the old pensioners. And you can just see that they love being here. It's the atmosphere of the place comes through. I think it comes through in our pictures, but it very much comes through when we were talking to them. Give them half a chance, and they behave, yeah, like Dad's army. My next Frith photo is of Victorian Drury Lane in the heart of the West End. I've just got to find out exactly where the picture was taken. Hello.
Hello.
Are you for hire?
I am indeed, sir.
I'll tell you what I've got to do. I've got to find my way to this place.
Let's have a look. Well, that's St Mary le Strange. That's got to be Drury Lane.
OK, well, now, look, we've got to get as near as we can to where this photograph was. Can we do that?
Yeah.
OK, so we're going through Theatreland, aren't we?
We are.
Okie doke. This area that we're going into, Theatreland,
Yeah.
that used to be very run down, didn't it, in the 18th century?
Oh, yeah, very much so. It was a slum area, what was called the rookeries.
If you look down Drury Lane, the whole scene is completely different, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. If it wasn't for the fact that I could see the spire of St Mary le Strand, I wouldn't have had such a good idea where you needed to go. We're approaching St Mary le Strand now, and this is where the very first cab rank was ever established, back in 1636.
Right, so we've now got to try and get into Drury Lane.
This is the bottom end. There we go.
Right, you're going to show me, aren't you?
Well, hopefully we're in the right spot. Bush House there, the other side of it is the spire of St Clement Danes, unfortunately obscured, as you can see. And I am assuming that these shops have no longer been wiped away.
They've all been wiped
away with redevelopment of the area.
Yeah, so all that's gone, but at least this is Drury Lane.
This is definitely Drury Lane.
Thanks very much.
No
You've done us
problem.
proud.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
OK.
Take care.
By Frith's day, Drury Lane had become one of the worst slums in London. And it's not surprising that these buildings were demolished. You can already see the boarded-up shop fronts. But there's one major building that survived the clearance, the Theatre Royal. An expert on the theatre, Mark Fox, delights in talking about its rich history. This was the fourth theatre on this site?
It was. The first building was built in 1663 under a royal patent from Charles II.
The Theatre Royal, Drury Lane.
That's why it's called the Theatre Royal, yeah.
When you see this big auditorium now, is it much the same as it would have been when our picture was taken in 1870?
The auditorium is completely different, actually. The Victorian auditorium would have been a horseshoe auditorium.
Right.
And there would have been one more tier. We've got 3 tiers above us now. There would have been 4, and then a little galleried bit even above that, so it would have been higher, the Victorian auditorium. This auditorium was modelled in 1922.
Right, but in the Victorian period it would still be an enormous theatre.
And the stage was one of the biggest stages in London, so
Yeah.
and that suited the productions, because what Drury Lane was famous for was for its big pantomimes and its spectacular melodramas.
It must have been difficult to fill this great big auditorium.
Yeah, it's a barn of a place. There's a lot of people, so they did whatever they could to attract people in, to make them spend their hard-earned money to come and see the show.
Here at the Theatre Royal, they went to great lengths to entice visitors, using elaborate stage machinery to create hills and startling effects. It was a first for Victorian London. The stagehands who worked the machinery had a surprising way of communicating.
A lot of the stage crew were actually ex-dock hands or ex-sailors, so most of their queuing system was done with whistles. So that's why there is the superstition that it's bad luck to whistle on the stage, because if you had whistled in those days, you could have actually given the cue and caused an absolute disaster on stage, or even killed somebody if something had flown in at the wrong time.
Right.
If you whistled and gave the wrong signal.
Gosh. Now, I've a bit of a yen for the stage, and I can't resist having a go at a version of Aladdin first performed here in Frith's time. What means this strange sensation? It is thrilling. 1,000 music halls at once I'm filling. And when I am 10 times at each hall on chord, and now I'm playing whist, turn up a club and lose a single double and the rub.
The lamp is mine again, you money grubber. I've trumped your trick and fairly won the rubber.
Aha! Now then, we get applause, don't we?
Doesn't seem like it.
Wait a moment, come on, applause. That was terrible. I've now got to take my picture. It's another Drury Lane street scene, but quite different from Frith's. The grand stage door to the Theatre Royal. Without being obvious, it's a reminder of the age-old glamour of the theatre, an entrance to the world of make-believe. Well, this is my picture, and I think it has the same sort of atmosphere as the old one. The Frith one is Victorian, but so is this, and this was here when that photograph was taken. And there is a perfect Victorian stage door. And you can imagine the Victorian stage Johnnies waiting here, hoping that they might get a glance at their favourite actress. My tour of Britain is now really underway. I'm following in the footsteps of pioneer photographer Francis Frith, and my next port of call is one of the most popular parts of London, Covent Garden. Nowadays, the 17th century piazza is a magnet for tourists, with its shops and restaurants. Its original purpose was as a market, selling fruit, veg, and in particular, flowers. The Frith photograph that has brought me here is this one. It shows some of the many flower sellers who frequented the area for centuries, a reminder of the real Eliza Doolittles from My Fair Lady, or Shaw's original Pygmalion. In 1877, when the Frith picture was taken, Covent Garden Piazza would have been filled with market traders. They arrived well before dawn to work at London's largest market. The Victorian flower sellers, as in the Frith picture, were most likely poor women who scraped together a few pennies selling their sweet-smelling posies. Well, that could be that door. Now I've got to find out exactly where the photo was taken. We need a lamppost here. We'll have to rearrange things so it looks like the photograph. I think it's St. Paul's Church in the background. The pavement looks the same. That's what I think it does look the same. But it's not much to go on, is it? Simon Griggs is the vicar of St. Paul's, and he may know where the Frith picture was taken. But now look, the mystery I've got to solve is this. Where is it? I've looked all the way around and I can't see where it is.
Well, I think I know where it is. Well, obviously this is the flower market, which means that it's at the east end of the church.
So we've got to go around?
Let me show you. Well, if we come outside the church into Covent Garden, we find the famous portico of St. Paul's Church, the Actors' Church. This, of course, is where George Bernard Shaw set the opening scene of Pygmalion, and where Lerner and Lowe set the opening scene of My Fair Lady.
OK, well, now, look, our picture, though, you think is about from here, is that right?
Well, if you look at the side of the picture, I'm pretty sure that that's the corner of that pillar there.
Right.
And that those railings would, at one point, have closed off the portico. And if you look straight through there, that is where those ladies were sat.
It's a lovely picture, isn't it?
It's a great picture, and they're so full of character. Sadly, that rather wonderful lamppost must have disappeared somewhere along the line. But otherwise, there it is.
Much the same.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Covent Garden's famous flower market eventually closed, but a new version was opened just a few miles away, on the other side of the Thames. This is the new Covent Garden market. It's not that new. It moved here just south of the river in the 1970s. The change has been dramatic. The old boisterous, noisy bustle has all gone, but it's much more efficient. Where else could you ask for 10,000 red roses and be told, yes, sir, would tomorrow be all right? The purpose-built cobble-free market is now the largest wholesale flower market of its kind in the UK and home to around 200 companies. John Hardcastle's family has been in the flower-selling business for very many years. He has fond memories of the old market. Tell me about when you started as a young man. That was in the old market, wasn't it?
Yep.
What was that like?
It was fantastic. I was born and bred in the old market, so there's always lots of noise. It was noisy the whole time. And the streets were hugely congested with lots of fog, believe it or not. I don't look old enough, but the streets, you used to have to walk through the fog to get to school. And it was fantastic. It was fantastic. Now in our business, the world is so small, 24 hours. We've got flowers coming from all over the world, whereas in the past, we'd rely on local markets.
Oh, well, that's sad, isn't it? That's a sad...
Yeah, it's a change. The market's changed, the world's changed, but that's how it used to be.
Yeah, and when you look back on that, do you think, oh, those were the days?
I look back at them fondly.
You do look back
It's
fondly.
a privilege to be there.
New Covent Garden Market might not have the atmosphere of the old one, but it's still a thriving and prosperous place to sell flowers. So I want to try and create an up-to-date version of the Frith picture with the help of the men and women who work here. Everyone gets a bunch of flowers, yeah?
Cool.
I think that's the roses, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, you go there, and look, you've got to look like that, okay? So you just have
hard,
to...
is it?
No, I think you can manage that.
Yeah, I'll manage
you look
that.
a bit fed up, you look that way, okay? And you look over there.
Okay.
All right?
I'll look at the flowers.
And you look at the flowers, okay? I think we're ready. Okay, now then, look solemn, look Victorian, okay? And very British it is. Flower sellers and Union flags. That's our photograph. These girls here sort of bring out the spirit of Covent Garden and Eliza Doolittle, the flower-selling girls. And these, in their own way, they tell us a bit about modern Britain. So there they all are in new Covent Garden Market. I rather like it. My final destination today is one of the tourist industry's biggest sellers, Tower Bridge, a combination of Victorian engineering and architecture at its best. The Victorian era had a dramatic effect on London's skyline. Many of the capital's greatest buildings, including the Houses of Parliament, were built during that time. London's population was increasing at a rapid rate, and many new bridges were required to handle all the extra traffic. The most striking addition was Tower Bridge, seen here in 1890. The Frith photo shows it 4 years before its completion. Who could have imagined then it would become an instantly recognized symbol of London throughout the world? The opening of Tower Bridge is a magnificent sight. Charlie Harrison, the bridge operator, is there to make sure it all runs like clockwork. This is the control room, isn't it?
It is, yes, one of two, yes.
And how often are you doing this?
Well, it's roughly about 950 times a year, but mainly sort of April to October, so it's mainly a summer thing rather than a winter thing.
But when this was built, at the time that our Frith photograph was taken, how many movements would there be?
It would raise about 6,000 times a year then, in its first early years.
So this would have been an extremely busy waterway.
That was the prized part of the pool. That was why the endeavour was to get into the upper pool. They're nearer to the centre of London. They can offload their goods quicker and distribute them quicker, so they had a quicker outflow of their goods.
We're living in different times now,
We certainly are, yes. It's all gone now as far as trade goes. It's all commercial and corporate hospitality now.
It all looks quite simple above ground. Below, it gets a lot more complicated. And this is where, well, this is where all the other guts are here. Oh, goodness me. So, I know it's complicated, but how does it work? What's the basic principle?
Well, the machinery drives that axle. The axle pushes the back end of the bridge down, raising the front end up to allow the ships to go through the gap.
So it's like a great big seesaw?
Like a giant seesaw, yes.
And further down, it gets better. So what have we got here?
Well, it's again another part of the old equipment called the accumulator.
It's no longer used, though?
No longer used. That would have weighed about 100 tonnes in its working life. It would have been bouncing up and down on the pressure from below, and that would help balance the whole system.
But it's an amazingly impressive structure, isn't it? But when you're up above, you don't see any of this, do you?
No.
I mean, it's...
The public see none of this.
It's amazing, isn't it? Well, this is amazing, isn't it?
It's an amazing, impressive space.
Now, this is the most important part of the whole building, isn't it?
Yes, without this chamber, nothing can happen.
This all comes down, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. This is the seesaw principle I was explaining to you upstairs.
Yeah.
So this is the back end, the counterbalance, which comes down under the drive when the machinery drives it down, which raises the middle section, the road section up.
So if we're here and it was to come down while we were here, what would we do?
We'd panic.
We would panic, I certainly would.
We'd go for a safe area, which would be standing up on that plinth with our backs to the wall. It would stop just in front of us, just here.
Just here? But that would be frightening, wouldn't it?
It would be very frightening.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Right, well, I've got one last favour. Would you let me open the bridge?
Well, I've shown you all the parts that work, how they work and what they do. It'd be my honour to let you raise the Tower Bridge.
Honour? In my honour, thank you. That would be wonderful. It's time to fulfil a schoolboy's dream. This should go down on my list of unforgettable moments.
First thing you do is warn the bridge crew we're about to make a start. So the first message is, stand by bridge crew, about to stop road traffic.
So I'm going to press that and then start speaking, right? Stand by bridge crew, about to stop road traffic.
Now, if you like to press the traffic light button, that'll initiate the closure.
Right, traffic lights red.
Those two buttons now, if you like, that'll shut the entrance gates.
OK, here we go.
Now we can also start to unlock the bridge, so press the pull button now.
OK, pause. Now here we go. Ready?
And we can watch that on the screen actually happening.
So what are... Oh, these are just the sort of locks.
The massive hydraulic jacks down below. So you now pull that lever back.
And that's it?
And that's all it is to it.
All right, now, this is an important moment. All right, no ceremony, we just pull it back.
And hold it back.
All right, we pull it back. Here we go. Right, up with Tower Bridge. Open. Look at it, it is opening. Isn't that wonderful? Look at that. And she's going up. How graceful.
It goes about 1 degree per second.
How lovely. That's terrific, isn't it? You must feel very powerful.
Yeah, you've got 2,200 tons of structure there you've got on the move.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, I don't know, I've done some extraordinary things in my life, but I've never done anything quite like this. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Now, this is normally as far as it goes, so just give it a little bit of clearance.
Yeah? And then I let go, and it'll stop now?
Yes, just release it back to the middle now.
OK, here we go.
And we hope it stops, and it does.
Right.
You can rest and relax now for a moment.
Now, there is... Oh, that's wonderful. Gladys, the Thames barge. What a lovely boat. Look at that. An old Thames barge sailing under one of the greatest bridges in the world. And what's my photographic record of this place going to be? Well, it's obvious. Right, I'm going to take my picture of my bridge, which I opened. And there it is, sunset at Tower Bridge. No wonder she's become one of the great symbols of London. Next time on Britain's First Photo Album, I'll be following the Thames eastward to Gravesend, where I'll be hitching a ride on a glorious sailing barge. Ah, the power of sail. Finding out what the Victorians did in their leisure time. If I do it, I want a bit of a cheer. If I don't get it right, I don't want a boo, OK? And meeting the new owners of Charles Dickens' favourite holiday home. You look absolutely great.
Next here on BBC Two, Railways of the Great War with Michael Portello.